going on, YouTube? I am here to talk about one of my favorite series right now. I took a step back from all the new stuff coming out right now. I was just feeling, I guess, a bit overwhelmed from the abundance, I would say overabundance, of fantasy anime, isekai anime that are more or less like they kind of tap into the same audience, the same market of people looking for the same course of food with just like a little different food coloring on top of it. It's like those fucking Krabby Patties from SpongeBob. But yeah, I went back to more simpler times. Like we didn't have all these streaming services and subscriptions. Thankfully, subscribing to me is free. Make sure you hit that bell. Make sure you hit that bell icon. TV was more long form. It was normal for seasons of television to go over 12 episodes, even 20 episodes. And some shows like these just didn't really stop. It had that sense of comfort to it, to where same time, same network, same station.
Some things never change. Toonami thinks change is good.
Toonami was the place to go to experience these shows. It was different from the rest of Cartoon Network, where story arcs would begin and end within the same episode with a lot of Cartoon Network shows. It was very episodic. In these shows, it felt like every episode mattered and built upon each other. That favorite episode that you have of your favorite show, now it's being referenced in a future episode of that show. Like it sounds kind of weird saying it because we have so many serialized shows these days, but back then when it came to cartoons, when it came to animated works, this wasn't really a thing to where the shows became serialized. Like it wasn't very common. I had no idea what continuity or canon meant, but it felt really cool to experience. Now for me, the only shows I was really interested in heavily on Toonami were Naruto and Dragon Ball Z. Now as for Bleach,
well, I needed a break, so I came here to buy more blech. It's pronounced Bleach, aisle 1. Hey, slow down.
my first impressions of Bleach were from a scholastic book fair in elementary school. Growing up, I was always told to read by adults, but I always had to read what they wanted me to read. I had a higher than average reading level, but God, did I hate reading. I fucking hated reading anything that wasn't a comic book. Something to give me, I needed something visual to tell me what the hell was going on. Like one day, good old Scholastic came in and said, hey, we got some of the good shit right here. We got the good shit. I'm looking through the catalog and I see Shonen Jump magazine. They used to display these Shonen Jump magazines, and on one of the covers I see this guy with orange hair and black clothing. I opened up and went to the section of the magazine. 7-year-old Soul Cycle was not fucking with Bleach at all. I thought it was trash. I was not a fan of dark and moody stuff, and that's exactly what Bleach looked like to me. Just some more corny, edgy bullshit, more A and B fuel for the Linkin Park enjoyers. I kept watching Naruto because the main character was a kid like me, and I just kind of related to that a lot more. You know, the anime was a lot more colorful, more in your face, and just had a higher energy than Bleach to me. It had higher highs. You know, when it comes to that meme when they say like hype moments and aura, Naruto had a lot of moments like that, and you didn't have to, there wasn't a lot of time in between those hype moments, you know, and I'm gonna get to that in a second when it comes to Bleach. So I tried picking up Bleach again later, just trying to catch on Toonami, but it just didn't stick with me, man. Like every time I tuned in, I would just see two characters just talking on the screen. Like they would just be standing in the air talking to each other. It was just so goddamn boring, and I still hold this belief to this day. The Bleach anime is fucking terrible to me. I feel like it's just not a great adaptation for a majority of its run, and it just doesn't do the manga, it doesn't do Kubo a good service. It, with certain moments and fights, it does it really well, like the Grimmjow fight, the Ukiyo-e fight, but when I judge an anime adaptation, I'm looking beyond like the big moments that we're all waiting to see in motion. A full spread page is being put into motion. I care about the time in between those big moments. How consistent is the quality? And unfortunately, the average Bleach episode was just not that cool to me. I gave the series another try again last year in 2024. My friends were extremely happy with the 1000-Year Blood War arc adaptation, and I wanted to see what the big deal was about. And I went and watched the first episode, and whoo, holy shit. Bounts! Guys!
崎一郎死神対抗だ
Oh my god, he's so goddamn cool!
I needed context, so I stopped myself and I went all the way back to the first episode. It had a pretty slow burn compared to other anime that I'm used to, but you can just chop that up to just how anime was broadcasted back in the mid 2000s. Television was just a lot slower. They took their time to tell stories, and with anime even more so. Some scenes will be extended to fill out the runtime of the episode. I was trying to watch every single episode of the anime because I'm thinking the fillers were important to watch. I was told that they were canon. I'm watching through the Bounts arc straight after the Soul Society arc. It was just like, that shit was fucking garbage. And I was just watching through the screen bored as hell, like a little shocked. Like, what the fuck am I looking at, man? I gave it like 5 episodes and I just said, fuck it. I got me a Shonen Jump subscription. I started reading the fucking manga, guys. Let me tell you, man. Goddamn, the pacing is so much better. I don't know if I have any Bleach fans watching this that read the manga. My friends who got me into the anime were commenting how the pacing for the Arrancar arc, for example, is way faster than the manga compared to the anime. I was streaming my time reading the Arrancar arc on Discord, and they noted that the pacing is way faster in the manga, and some characters like Orihime were handled way better. I'm hearing that in the anime she was more of a damsel in distress, like she wasn't as important to the story, and I'm kind of wondering how the fuck that they managed to do that, because Orihime is a big anchor for this story, for the Arrancar arc specifically, and she's a big reason why the events unfolded the way they did. Unfortunately, so way back in the day when I was trying to get into Bleach, this was my first introduction to Bleach, and I do feel like that if they just cut to the chase a bit more, I probably would have liked it more.
漫画とのリーチを保つため別ルートを通って遠回りし再び合流するという作戦だ。だがこれには様々なリスクが伴う。
These anime, they took no breaks, so oftentimes instead of the story going forward, it would go sideways. There was a lot of downtime, but it gave those supporting characters time to flesh themselves out in these anime. But I feel like we kind of already had this in the Bleach manga. After the Soul Society, the story kind of slows down. The characters are all catching their breath, and honestly, this is something I kind of miss from Shonen. The in-betweens, what happens in between the big events in story arcs. I feel like with anime these days it's very fast. Like with the Shibuya arc for JJK, like they were just fighting like every single episode. They didn't really give us time to breathe. We're jumping from one arc to the next with just very little room. In these older anime with like fillers and stuff like that, like we see different sides to these characters. We see everyday sides to these characters. We get to see how they interact with each other as outside of high stress situations, family dynamics, their social standing in school, and their characterization stays consistent and adds context to their fights. You know, that's one thing I will say that I liked about Naruto. When you watch the fillers, it makes certain big moments happen. So I'm in the middle of a rewatch with a friend right now. We're on the part where Hinata kind of stands up for Naruto against Pain. Now, if you're reading the manga, you're like, where the fuck is all this coming from? Hinata is barely in the story. But if you're watching all the filler and stuff like that, where they do showcase Hinata, and she does have those character moments with Naruto, it kind of adds to this scene a bit. You start to actually give a shit about what the fuck happens to her. And throughout this filler, these characterizations stay consistent. Well, now that we're talking about characters, I think I should give a spotlight on the main character of Bleach, because this is a character that kind of gets critiqued on a lot. I've been on the internet for a very long time, and I think Ichigo, despite being the most relatable protagonist out of the big three, I think he was also the most misunderstood. He was often boiled down, made fun of for being what would be described as like a Gary stew, a conductor of ass pulls and plot devices in the story. He was seen as uninteresting because he didn't want to be something like the king of Soul Reapers or the president of Kamakura Town. Like, he didn't want to be no stupid shit like that. He was a reactionary character and prioritized protecting his friends and family. Apparently this was boring and uninteresting to a lot of people. Ichigo, unlike Naruto and Luffy, he isn't as proactive as a protagonist. He's not affecting many of the characters in Bleach on a large emotional level besides maybe his closest friends, and I guess that just doesn't resonate with a lot of people. And now that I'm experiencing Bleach, I don't quite understand this point of view. I don't understand like this way of thinking. Like Ichigo is a responsible character. You know, this is how I see him as. He's a responsible character. He's always that guy to call on when you need your car jumped, when you're stuck in the snow or some shit. Like, he's that family member, that older brother that you call whenever you're in trouble. He's reliable, not because he wants to, not because he's compelled to be a hero for some reason. He's reliable because he feels like he has to be. That's kind of the role that he's fallen into. And this isn't because he's a Soul Reaper. It's a part of his everyday life as a son, as an older brother. And not just to his family, Ichigo is an older brother to everyone in this fucking story. He assumes responsibility over others because in his everyday life, that's what the fuck he's doing. Among his friends and family, he's that pillar to rely on. And what I love that Kubo does, like, he makes a very interesting question. Who does Ichigo rely on? Who does he turn to when he needs help? He's so busy helping out others, but has he taken the time to figure himself out? And this is addressed in the beginning of this arc. When he learns a bit more about his hollow powers, he has a piece of the monsters that he's been fighting the entire series. Now, this is a trope that we kind of see regularly, like, nowadays, but back then that wasn't as common. So he's told that he's a liability by the Wizards, I believe. Yeah, the Wizards. One day, that monster inside of him, he's gonna put everyone that he loves in danger, and this fucking crushes Ichigo to the point where he needs to step away from everyone. He needs to figure out himself, his identity, something we all been teenagers at some point, right? All the soul reaping hollow powers aside, like, we can relate to something like that. Just needing to figure ourselves out and just learn a bit more about ourselves. And Orihime, she goes through a very similar character arc where she wants to be more useful, she wants to be more reliable and strong like Ichigo. Kubo does an awesome job of giving his characters more time to shine, a spotlight. There were, I believe, like, it was at least twice throughout this part of the story where I didn't even see Ichigo for at least like 5 to 10 chapters because the world of Bleach doesn't revolve around him. It never did. This world with the Soul Reapers, the Arrancars, the Spadas, the Soul Society, and Hueco were there long before Ichigo was around, and his existence, in a way, is an anomaly. It's a defiance to the system. We all remember that portion of our late teens where we're almost done with school. We're being prepared to take on the real world, get a job, house, family, responsibilities, but in this period of preparation, we're force-fed an abundance of rules. This is how the world works. If you want to be successful, if you want to live, if you want to feel like you belong, you have to conform to these rules no matter how you feel about it. What I love about Ichigo and his friends is their rebellious nature. Like real teenagers, they look at this world filled with rules, an entire system, a web filled with regulations to conform to, and they say,
nah, I'ma do my own thing.
That's fucking awesome to me. Like, Rukia broke the law as a Soul Reaper. Fuck that shit. You're destined to hurt your friends. Fuck that shit. I made you into everything you are. Everything that you are. Everything that has led you to me, I have control of. Fuck that, bitch. And fuck you. Like, I love that sense of rebelliousness among these characters. And I guess I could say I kind of like it because I was kind of like that as a teenager as well. The Espadas and Aizen represent the complete opposite of Ichigo. Ukiura is nihilism if it can walk on two legs. Aizen is a control freak that thrives off of manipulating others. It brings him comfort and safety to know that he just has that hold over you, that he's in control of everything. When he was ultimately defeated by Ichigo, this dude starts fucking tweaking, bro. He lost his aura for me for a bit because I guess it was revealed who he really was. Like, he was a monster. And I honestly don't understand when people say, oh, Aizen was right. Like, in a sense, he was with how the world works, but he's not right in the sense of how he should process that information, how he should go about things. Sure, he sees the world, how it should be. He has an idealistic sense. He has an idealistic point of view. You know, he's like Ichigo in the sense where he assumes responsibility over others. He wants to change the world in a way where he thinks it should be, but he doesn't accept things for what they are. I met a couple of people like that in real life. Like, they're not former Soul Reapers, but personality wise, they see the world and other people from an idealistic point of view. They judge situations based off what is correct, but not what is right. Does that make any sense to you guys? A non-nuanced way of thinking where you view the world of what it should be instead of what it is. Like, for example, I don't know if you guys live in a big city or like a big town. Sometimes you might have a girl that just wants to go out and have a good time at the bar or the club, but there's fucking creatures out there, man. Like, there's some evil motherfuckers waiting to do some malicious shit. Now, on occasion, I may have gave one or two of my female friends a weapon to bring with them, like a pocket knife or something, if they were to be in a sketchy area of town without me or my other guy homies. Now, someone will say women shouldn't feel the need to look over their shoulder. They should go wherever they want without that danger around them. And I agree with this 100%. But with the way the world works, you have to be mindful. You have to protect yourself, because there will be motherfuckers with ill intentions. Hopefully that wasn't a long tangent, but that's one real world connection I can make to this argument against, or maybe for, Aizen's philosophy and way of thinking. He's an idealist, and that's what makes him a bit interesting to me. What I love about these villains is that they each have their own personality and reason for doing things, and even their own character arc, at least for the important ones that Kubo wants to focus on. I would say the only problem that I have with this arc is that there was a lot of shit going on. There was just too many things going on at one point, but towards the end of this arc, everything began to tighten up a bit. Now, we were still left with some loose ends, especially with what the hell is going on with Ichigo's genetic makeup and shit, but the way everything wrapped up, Ichigo used the final Gesuga Tensho, which I believe is probably the strongest move in the series. He sacrificed all of his powers as a Soul Reaper, so he's like, well, I guess I'm done. I'm going back to school, guys. Like, Ichigo didn't want to be a Soul Reaper. He became one out of circumstance. He became stronger out of necessity to protect his friends. He's a reactive character. This is something that some people would call a bad thing, to make a protagonist solely because they're not really like Naruto or Luffy or Goku, but I think this type of protagonist is entirely possible and pretty cool. We can have a successful story with a main character like this. And I mean, I would call someone like Yusuke a reactive protagonist too. I think these types of characters were honestly just ahead of their fucking time. With so many anime and manga taking little things from Bleach and Yu Yu Hakusho, I feel like if these series came out today, that they would be at the tippy top of sales. You know, they will be surpassing One Piece and everything else that's out right now. It's one big reason why I would like to see perhaps a remake of these anime to give the younger generation a chance to experience these great stories. But yeah, man, like this video is getting pretty long for my taste. Like, it's gonna be a fucking hassle editing this shit. I roll like 5 whole fucking scripts for this shit, and I just started winging shit eventually. But it's finally out. And I'm glad. I'm going to be starting the Fullbringer arc soon. I want to start doing live streams of manga reading or anime watching alongside you guys, just to like keep the interaction up and stuff like that. So let me know if that interests you. Make sure you leave a comment below, like, what do you think about that shit? Make sure you guys leave a like, dislike, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell, and I will see you all later. I fucking love Bleach, guys. I will see you all later. Peace.